And while the state has launched mass vaccination events in different regions across multiple counties, the state has yet to hold a vaccination event in Jackson County.
KC Mayor Quinton Lucas says Kansas City needs more consistent events, more vaccine, and just more help altogether.
I understand perhaps why we look to hospitals for our vaccination throughputs, but the problem is this. We are not getting vaccines to the extent we need to populations that are largely left out.
This morning, we're taking a deeper dive into those mass vaccination events held all across the state and how the state decides where those spots are going to be.
41 Action News reporter Dan Cohen joins us for an in-depth look at vaccine distribution across Missouri. Good morning.
Taylor and Lindsay, good morning. What we wanted to do was get a better idea of the state's mass vaccination sites in each of the 9 regions that they've set up. And what we did was we chose the most populous city in each of those regions, used that most populous city's city hall as a starting point, and then mapped out to each of the vaccination sites that are happening this week and next week. And these are available on our website, just published this morning on kshb.com. Here's Region A, Population Center, Kansas City, obviously. The number of vaccination events, 3. The average driving distance to each of those vaccination sites is more than 56 miles. We've talked a lot about how folks are driving into those rural areas to get a vaccine. Now, here's Region C. The most populous city in this region, of course, is St. Louis. Look at the disparity. The same number of vaccine events, the average driving distance a little more than 33 miles. Mayor Quinton Lucas, as we've said, wants to have more mass vaccination sites. He has called on the federal government for help. Governor Mike Parson says the rollout is going as planned.
We need to make sure that people understand that there's a place to go, that there's a process, that there will be these mass vaccination events, and there won't just be a one-off opportunity 2 hours away. That's the best that they can do.
The reason we were really narrowed, especially on the hospitals, the healthcare centers, because we were really targeting 65 years and older, which virtually most of them are already going to have the infrastructure in place in those systems.
Governor Mike Parson has said that Arrowhead Stadium could be a mass vaccination site locally. Taylor and Lindsay, the next one here in Region A, out in Sedalia on Tuesday and Wednesday. Back to you.
So, Dan, if you wanted to punch in your zip code, find out who else is offering the vaccine besides a state event, how can they do that?
That resource is actually available on the state website, Lindsay. We have it right here for you. It's covidvaccine.mo.gov/map. I actually punched in our station zip code here in Kansas City, 64112. 89 sites, and most of them are pharmacies and healthcare providers. Of course, you have to get an appointment and you have to qualify for one of those tiers. And this is available on the state website, Missouri COVID-19 vaccine providers. This is separate from the mass vaccination sites that we just talked about. Again, 89 providers in this zip code, and you can punch in your zip code anywhere here in the city and find out where locally that is available for, again, tiers 1 and 2.
It's confusing because people don't know if they're supposed to go to a mass vaccination site or if they can go to their own doctor's office, if they can go to a pharmacy. Right. Lots of different things people can consider here, and we don't want to make people feel like those mass vaccination sites are the only things they can do, Dan. What about from a county level? You talked about there from the city. What about just from Jackson County? Is there a way to do if you live outside of KC-Mo in Jackson County?
Yeah, Jackson County has a list of providers, Taylor. I'm glad you asked. jacohd.org/COVID-vaccines. And they list providers as well. Federal pharmacy partners, mass vaccination events that we talked about, community vaccination clinics, Truman Medical Center, St. Luke's Health System. Again, it really just speaks to how spread out and sprawling this process is. The state mass vaccination sites, local clinics, other organizations that are helping out. We'll be talking about that later in the show. But Taylor and Lindsay, there are really so many different ways to figure this out and so many different resources to secure one of those appointments if you're eligible in those 2 tiers that the state has. And Tier 3 is coming up on March 15th.
That's right, less than 2 weeks away. Dan Cohen reporting live for us this morning, and we're going to have all that information for you at kshb.com.